welcome to Talking Pictures, where once again I, Ryan, will be your host for today. I am joined by today's episode by my good friend and co-host, David. David, what's the crack?
Not much, Brian. How are you today?
Nailed that quick one. Hello, listeners. Welcome again to another weekly episode of Talking Pictures, where we will be talking about Saw X. However, before discussing the movie, as you go to cinema to watch a movie, first you gotta watch the trailers. I would like to introduce a provisional segment for our show. Emphasis on provisional. Trailer of the week.
Trailer of the week, yeah.
Trailer of the week.
Good idea.
So, like, we would watch trailers, so even though we watch them on YouTube all the time because social media is consuming our brains and gluing our eyes to the screens, you gotta watch trailers regardless, and it's always nice to watch trailers on the big screen, just to hear that surround sound as well. So, David, trailer of the week is just a throw in of what trailers have come out in the last week, and we will throw one in just to say, yep, I'm looking forward to this. Just one, no more than one, and hopefully there's always going to be at least one, and I think there always is at least one, no matter how big of a budget, high profile it is, or as indie as possible. So the trailer that has come out this week, upon recording this episode and to release in this episode, is a Netflix film, Leave the World Behind.
Okay, I've not heard of it.
It stars Julia Roberts, Mahershala Ali, Ethan Hawke, Kevin Bacon. It's set in a house, and I think something's going wrong in the world. Some sort of apocalypse of sort. Maybe it's cyber terrorism, but I'm feeling there's a bit of global warming involved in it as well. Not too sure. Trailer came out. It's for Netflix. I've only heard of it before. I've seen like an image or two on a Netflix sizzle reel way back yonder when they started airing all those dates, and now we finally got a trailer. It was not pushed as a result of the writers and actors strike, unlike a few other Netflix projects and theatrical projects. But we're getting this in November in select theatres, so we're not getting it in cinemas in Ireland, I doubt. And then it'll be in Netflix in December. Okay. So, yeah, hopefully it's good. The trailer was really good. It doesn't tell you what the story's about, and it doesn't go into it at all.
Good. That's kind of what you want, I think, from a trailer anyway, because there's, I don't know how many times where you watch a trailer and you go, okay, I've seen the movie. I know exactly what it is. But the fact that you were able to watch it and you go, okay, that's piqued my interest, but I don't know much about it.
Yeah.
That sounds good. I don't know how many times I think if you do a really good teaser trailer, get me interested in it, and then I don't want to see any more trailers.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'd like that as well, and sometimes I won't even watch any trailers at all of something that I know I'm just going to go watch. Yeah. But this is a Netflix throwaway thing that hopefully will be good. And I want to watch the trailer. I know it's good. I watched the trailer for that Gal Gadot action movie and a Jennifer Lopez action movie that was released this year. I want to watch the trailer just to see if it's good. They don't look good, so I'm not going to watch them. And it's Netflix.
Yeah.
So that's all I have to say. Leave the World Behind. Trailer of the week.
Nice one. So as comes after the trailer comes the main feature, and that's us talking about Saw X, the
100%.
latest entry in the Saw franchise. Where does the Saw franchise rank for you in terms of like not only horror franchises but franchises as a whole?
I don't know where it would be among the whole franchises, but I will have to commemorate it. Is that how I pronounce that word?
Commendate it, maybe? Like
praise it.
Praise it.
Let's praise it, because I don't know bigger words for a franchise that doesn't have any reboots. Yeah. Or retellings or remakes. No, it doesn't.
Yeah, no,
it doesn't.
I'm gonna argue with you on that, but no, you're right. It's a very. I was gonna say it was a clean cut, one and continues, but no, it's not as clean cut as that.
No, 100%. Saw is every Saw movie. They even call this one 10, implying that Spiral was 9. That it's all within the same universe.
Because they do Saw 1 to 7, and then Jigsaw, Spiral, and now Saw X.
100%. Yep.
It's even though with Spiral that came out, that was some kind of big. That was a little bit bigger budget with the cast. They had Chris Rock and
Samuel Jackson.
Sam Jackson.
Max Mongolia, I think his name is.
Yeah.
He's a big enough TV actor.
He's from Social Network, isn't he?
I believe so. I know him from The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, okay. And that was kind of it was interesting. It was like I wouldn't say it's definitely not a reboot. It's like a refresh because it was spiraled from the Book of Saw, and it was a continuation of it all. And I thought that that's where we were going forward.
Well, so did they.
They decided they're not going.
Oh no, it didn't make money.
Oh, that's a shame.
No, and I don't think it was received well either. I actually looked up. I think it was like 35% Rotten Tomatoes. Okay. But The Blackening was like what 92 or 82 or something like that, and we both despised that movie.
Yeah,
so,
fair enough.
So we'll tread Rotten Tomatoes with a bit of
we also liked Eternals.
Sorry?
We liked Eternals. People did not like Eternals.
Oh yeah, well fuck them. So Saw X is 85% Rotten Tomatoes anyway, and I think the whole general consensus is that people who are fans of the franchise like it. Mm-hmm. People who are not fans of the franchise will still imply and heavily state that they are not fans of the franchise, but they will acknowledge that this is it's one of the better ones.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
I would say yeah. It's very different, just in terms of how close can we get to the feel of the originals, but also put our own spin on it. Mm-hmm. And I think that it was very brave, I guess, in a way, with the way that they framed it. Specifically, the fact that Jigsaw, Tobin Bell, is the protagonist. He's the main character, and he's also framed as the good guy in the situation, which is a huge departure from the other
Saw 2 that we'll call it as a comparable example.
It takes place between 1 and 2, and like I just feel like it's brave to have a character who in essentially all 9 movies, he doesn't feature, I don't think, in
overall,
but the overall arcing villain,
he's the Jigsaw killer.
He's the Jigsaw killer, and he puts people into these traps to either kill them or maim them.
No, he doesn't kill them.
He gives them the choice.
Yeah,
it's either be horribly disfigured or die.
Yeah,
and
and
you get a new appreciation for life, and it's fucked up way of thinking, but then to put him in a situation where you're kind of framing it like, oh yeah, I feel bad for him, it's kind of justified this time. Do you know what I mean? Like, it felt like it was really weirdly like.
Well, the way to do it, David, is to make it easier for yourself and me to believe it so that John Kramer is the protagonist, or less at the very best call it a lead character, the main character. Is just have everyone else around him be worse.
Yeah.
Be worse. Just because off the top of my head, there were people who were in Saw 7 who were like racist in a certain trap. Okay, it literally says you and all your friends are racist. Okay, suppose throw them in traps. But pretty much put the worst of the worst as possible. Don't put people in there because they're suicidal, or don't put people in there because you know what I mean, like, or just because someone's taking pictures and posing under the license. Just like there's a very, very long thread of ranging from very bad to not so bad, just troubled. And then on top of that, not every trap is the same. Some people might get away, just have a little scar on my neck, or of a scar on my shoulder, or my limb is gone.
Yeah, exactly. And I wanted to kind of launch into the actual traps of this movie as well, based on that, where the
Spoilers
for Saw.
And when you're watching Saw X without watching the franchise, you're not going to appreciate it as much. And
the level of which the crimes, I suppose, the way that Jigsaw justifies putting these people in the tracks vary so much from person to person. For example, the first guy who he technically doesn't put in a trap, he imagines it. But he's just a little pickpocket. He's just like a guy that works, cleaning up the hospital, and he clearly is like, not on good money. He feels like, I need to rob certain things, from someone that's in a coma or whatever.
It's easier for us to think he's a dickhead or he's a lowlife because he's smiling, robbing him. Like he's a cheeky smile, robbing him. But
it's not like
stealing from a man on his deathbed.
And it's not like it's. It's like ridiculous. Like, oh yeah, he gets a watch, whatever. Like, what you? But and then he imagines putting him in a trap where he either breaks all his fingers or he loses his eyes.
Arguably the easiest trap, you said.
I think the easiest trap. Yeah, I think we'll get into this a little bit later. I think there's a lot of traps I think I could survive. That one is the easiest one I think ever could have survived. That's breaking your 5 fingers. Just turn the dial all the way to 5 and break them all at once. Why? I don't know why. Obviously I know why, because we're watching a film where they're building suspense. Why would you turn, okay, the dial, turn it to 5 to break all your fingers. Okay, I'll turn it to 1, break a finger. Turn it to 2, break a finger. Turn it all the way to 5, break all your fingers at once. What are you doing? But yeah, you're right. There's some people in it that you're like kind of, the scope varies, definitely. Oh, I'm going to break all your fingers, or chop off your entire leg, or I'm going to chop your head off and you're going to die. Completely different. Take out a piece of your brain, or, be in front of an x-ray machine and horribly disfigure yourself. Like, the levels of which these, and like, oh, this is the guys, they robbed me of my money, but like, oh, this is the girl that answered the door. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's what level really did she have to play in this? Like, realistically, he should have only really gone after kind of the main doctor.
Yeah.
In a way. Like, if you wanted to justify it, which clearly the movie does want to do.
It does want to justify John Kramer's actions, yeah, 100%.
But then if we look at the other, like you said, the other movies, somewhat like Amanda, that she was self-harming, like she was a drug addict who self-harmed. That's not her fault. Like, everyone has a weakness, and she even kind of brings that up, like, because Gabriella was a junkie in this one. She's like, Amanda says, like, drugs are powerful things. Like, we don't always have control. And John's like, well, she had the choice to take it in the first place. And I was like, you don't know that. You don't know, like, what situation someone was in where they might have been forced to take drugs. They might have grown up in a really bad family or just bad circumstances where that was just common.
The way I would perceive it, David, is in 2 lanes, right? I'd try and give you the best of a visual cue, but this is a audio only podcast, so bear with me. 1 lane is me and you right now as we are living and breathing, knowing that someone like Jigsaw would be doing these things. 100% I'd be grabbing that gun he puts in the back shelf, or just like a hammer of sorts to smash his head in, because this guy John Kramer is a sociopathic psychopath, insane guy who needs to die a lot sooner than he does, because it's insane. And it's just like, you call the police, you get the law involved, you don't do this. Now that is the lane I would agree,
the rational way of thinking.
It's the rational way, which is why which is I guess why we're sort of arguing as to the range of people you put in these situations, because of stealing people who are dying from cancer and robbing a watch. What? Like, how is that justifiable? Hence we're arguing about it. That's the lane I see. That's 1 lane anyway. The other lane is a movie fan.
Yeah.
I'm watching this movie because it's a movie of entertainment. I've been watching this franchise for let's say all my life, and I can say the same for you. Yep. And this is just the ideology and the creation of the theme of the franchise, and we know it to be. And this time around, following John, it solidifies it even more, tries to frame it as so that it is justified what he's doing. And so as movie fans and watching this, we are going to get on board for the sake of the movie, for the storytelling of the movie. We can think about every now and then, this is a completely fucking irrational, like, what the hell, like, kill people please. Like, what made me think of my rational side as opposed to I just want to enjoy this movie from the beat of where the storytelling is going, because John Kramer is not the villain in this movie, so we're gonna have to watch this as he's the hero, emphasis on hero, but there's no other way to watch it. You're not gonna hope for him to have a defeat in the end, because that's not the movie. So what I'm trying to say is, as a result, we watch this movie as it is given to us, and the only time I was sucked out of my movie phase into my rational phase of thinking was when Amanda was second guessing herself throughout the movie. And I don't think I can do this. do you think this is wrong? Like, thinking, why does she need to be there? Thinking, you know, because even in the previous movies, she was like having panic attacks, thinking, oh my god, she doesn't like doing this. You think she was a cold-hearted bitch, you know, locking your man, Detective Matthews, at the end of Saw 2. And you see in Saw 3, she's like second-guessing herself. She's getting upset. Yeah. She doesn't want to do this. And then another time she mercy kills Adam because she didn't want to leave him like that. So she's not actually all that bad. If anything, John Kramer's using her, and John Kramer doesn't see that he's using her. He feels like, oh, you know,
he's helping her.
He's helping her, but in actuality, from our perspective, rational perspective, the perspective that we are not watching when we watch, the perspective we do not have when we are watching this movie, is that she is being brainwashed.
Yeah. Well, what you're saying there about the two roads, I fully understand what you're saying, and you're right. It is a movie, and we obviously have to suspend our disbelief. The thing that I have the problem with is because there's such a scope of, you know, this minor thing of someone pickpocketing, and you tricked me into thinking that you cured my cancer, I'm going to die. That whole spectrum over the course of the 10 movies, that's a perfectly acceptable spectrum, because in his head, the pickpocket is nearly just as bad as the brain surgeon, because of the fact that, like, oh, it's just a pickpocket now, but he'll eventually, you know, go on to do these other things. So that whole spectrum is justified because he is the bad guy, and what he thinks is right. He's helping this person, but it's strange to kind of frame a whole movie about trying to convince us that he's right. Do you know what I mean? That he like it's kind of the way of, like, he thinks he's right, but we on the outside know that he's wrong. Do you know? Like look at for example, Thanos. Yes. Right, from Avengers.
Yes.
That he so adamantly thought he was right, which made him a great villain. But we wouldn't agree with. But you can see where he's coming from.
Yeah.
The correct solution for him is to double the resources as opposed to killing everyone, half the people.
Yeah.
But so to frame, I suppose, Jigsaw in the same, like, I can see where he's coming from.
Yes.
But he's wrong.
Yes.
So it's weird to then give us a movie where the movie is trying to tell us, as opposed to...
I know what you're saying. I'm waiting for you to finish. I don't want to interrupt you. because I have a response to that.
Well, that's just the only issue I had with the movie. Like, because, as I said, that's a wide spectrum, and I can fully, get on board with this is a movie.
Yeah.
He thinks he's right, but I know he's wrong.
Yeah.
So it's just weird for the movie to try and tell me that he's right and he's justified, as opposed to the character, the movie versus the character telling me these things. But does that make sense? Yeah,
it does make sense. My only response is Thanos is a better character, and the Avengers movie was a better movie. And it was better. It was higher quality in terms of the storytelling and the writing.
Well, that's just an example of, like, a bad guy who thinks he's right.
Yeah, 100%. But the Saw movies to me are never A+ movies, and that's not in terms of score. That's in terms of wide audience acceptance. This is a B movie. This is the low movie, and as the better these movies are, the better feeling we are about ourselves in watching them, because they're just not gimmick throwaway pieces of shit. It's actually decent storytelling.
Intricately, like, that's the thing, is that while you say these are B movies, the gymnastics that the writers go through to make sure that everything makes sense and that there's no thread left, to go, oh, I wonder this, because there was a few times in the movie where that happened, where I went, oh, wait a minute, that's a bit weird, because that would mean that would happen, and then they resolved it, and I'm like, oh, okay, so it's like someone that goes page by page, he goes, okay, where does this lead? Okay, we tie it up there. And
loose ends and foreshadowing, or closing the book on open-ended story threads.
Just making sure that everything that they set up is paid off. And what I think is brilliant about this franchise is that just because we leave it open-ended and we didn't resolve it in this movie, doesn't mean we're not going to resolve it 4 movies from now.
Yeah.
Like, that they're so intricate. There's a moment in every Saw movie and it gives me goosebumps every single time. And it's when that theme plays just at the end, where it's like do do do, and I'm like, it hits, and you're like, oh, we're about to find out what we didn't know the entire time, or we find out what was really going on. And it's just that, like, it's the writers flexing of, like, you know, yo, we got you. Like, not only did we trick the characters, we tricked you, the audience, because it happens in this movie, right at the end, when he's like, wait a minute, if there was supposed to be 2 people on the trap and that was your test, and I was like, yeah, he's right, I was just thinking that. And then your one pulls the thing, and then the music plays, and I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, me and you looked at each other
we're
at
like,
that moment.
This is it. This is when we find it out.
Yeah.
So I think...
I was actually thinking, how the hell are they going to get us to execute that sequence?
Yes.
Because every time that sequence plays, rarely John Kramer is ever there. And... when
it's the characters realizing
yes. But John Kramer's the man involved. He's the man in charge. He knows everything. So do you know what I mean?
And it didn't feel like in this one they were setting up that there's something going on that we don't know about.
It was the people who got the better hand, let's say, the vile people, the people who are supposed to be worse than Jigsaw, the villains of the movie, I suppose.
Yeah, it's weird to say the villains of the movie and it not be Jigsaw that he's the hero. So I have to commend...
it's good.
Yeah, we have to commend the writers that even though these are B movies and they're gore and they're hard to look at, they're very, very well thought out. And I feel like it's not an easy thing to do. But I just think that the whole connectivity of this franchise is fantastic, and everything weaves into each other, and there's no plot point left open-ended. And if it is, oh yeah, we'll get to it. Don't worry. Like when in Saw 3, when you see him eating the tape.
That was actually in Saw 4. You see him pour the candle. You don't see him eat it.
Yeah, you see in Saw 3 that he pours wax over a tape. Then in Saw 4 you see him eat the tape, and then in Saw 5 we hear the tape. Or something like that.
No. You hear the tape in Saw 4. But technically, in terms of canon timeline, chronologically speaking, that autopsy takes place after. It takes place in Saw 6.
Yeah, so it's
so far ahead.
Yeah,
I have a problem with that. He says it's not over because I'm dead. The games have just begun. Well, I'm sorry, you're in the second last chapter of this franchise you're building to. How the game's just begun. Sometimes it makes me feel like they're making it as they go up along, but
they are absolutely.
But they do a fine enough job to they really do a fine enough job to close almost a chapter of the movie and continuing the next chapter almost literally straight after.
It's good when it feels like it's all thought out.
Yes,
but it's absolutely not. Like, there's no way that when they were writing Saw 3 and they just had him pour the wax on the tape, that was nearly like, that feels like it's I'm going to leave that there and someone else can pick that up. I don't know what's going to be on that tape, and I don't know where it's going to end up.
Actually, it was the same director, so...
Oh, was it? Yeah. Maybe then it was thought out. But
as far as Saw 4, probably.
Well, you can go, I suppose, when you're watching them, or if you're going to write one, you can look back and you can see, okay, where can I fit my story? What can I pick up on?
Yeah.
And then, obviously, that's what this one did, in the fact that it's, how do we want to bring Jigsaw back. He's been dead now for essentially the entire franchise. He died in Saw 3. This is the 10th movie, even though he's appeared in all of them nearly.
When has a franchise ever else done that?
I know. Yeah, it's
good.
It's good.
No reboot.
No reboots. So they found this sweet spot here in between episodes, Saw 1 and Saw 2. It's interesting because if you actually go back, and I think it's a plot point in one of the movies, I can't tell you exactly which one, but John is denied insurance.
6.
Yeah, he's denied money to go and get an experimental surgery, and it's a flashback in 6. Presumably it's to get this surgery because he mentions Norway, which is where the girl's dad was initially. So it's a small thread from that movie. It's in the 6th movie in a flashback.
Is it?
And then this movie takes place between 1 and 2. So it's so interconnected. It's fantastic.
There is a few things I think, when did this exactly happen? When did this exactly... I'm not going to hurt my brain to think like that. I'm just happy that they put a good job in Saw X. Like, like there's 10 movies, so 5 for 5. Like, it's in the one of the good ones.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
You want to jump into some flashbacks?
Yeah, let's take a halfway break.
Laura, play that music. Thanks, Laura. So yeah, I'm going to take some flashbacks here. So
Dave is going to pull the reins on this one today.
So as we were talking there about the kind of goosebumps moments that we get with the final song, this is actually the first Saw film since Saw 2 that doesn't have the end credits lead with the theme song. So normally the theme song would play and then it would lead directly into the credits, like the kind of characters realize what's going on and then it leads into the credits, like you're left on that note. But in this one, it's the theme song is played kind of maybe 5 to 10 minutes from the end. It's more so when the characters realize, oh, they're in the final trap, that the music is played. So it's an interesting one where I think it was used in Saw 2 in the same vein where it's not played into the credits, but every other entry, so Saw 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Really? Because I only saw Saw 2 last night.
If you go back and watch that, it doesn't lead directly into the end credits.
Doesn't that play like twice though during Xavier cutting his head and his back of his neck, and then again with Detective Matthews?
It's used varyingly in terms of.
I'm pretty sure it's used twice.
A slight remix to it, because in this one it was actually used in the post-credit scene as well.
I can't remember that bit. Yeah,
it's a slight variation of it. And then flashback number 2 is that the not so much, I suppose, a flashback about Saw X, but just the franchise in general. The longest time between sequels was 2010 to 2017, which would have been Saw 7 to Jigsaw. Previously, before that, there was a new Saw film that came out every single year.
Yeah.
So it was a franchise it was a yearly installment franchise, which you don't get much of anymore.
No, sure, it's as cheap as it made, you know. And literally the main character of each movie was a secondary character in the previous movie.
Yeah.
On average as that went.
So yeah, it's from 2004 all the way up to 2010. It was a yearly franchise, just kept going, and then that's when it kind of put a stop at the final chapter.
Yeah.
And we got then Jigsaw, which was it was a prequel, a full-on prequel.
Actually, it was a sequel prequel.
A sequel prequel, yeah. That's like these movies. Then we had Spiral, which was the sequel.
I would actually, that's a spin-off sequel.
Yeah, spin-off sequel. Yeah.
That's definitely more of a spin-off. Like Jigsaw very much felt like, let's say, what Rocky Balboa was to Rocky 5.
Yeah.
If you want to make a comparison, that's how it could come across. Spiral being Creed to Rocky franchise.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? And now, like,
this is like an interquel. Like, where can we slot it in?
This is just how can we get Tobin Bell back?
Yeah.
Because how else can we do it? And this is not. Yeah, no, it's pretty good. It's good. I think they actually made the right choice doing this, making it being Saw 10. That like it just came around the corner just in time because he was not in Spiral.
No, I think it's the only one he's not in.
Yeah,
yeah. Whether it be flashbacks or
neither.
And like
we have a picture of him, but
yeah, it doesn't.
And he was mentioned like once or twice.
And if you have him, why not use him? He's like he got that creepy voice. You know, he's iconic in the same way. I think John Kramer is as iconic, if not more, than the actual Jigsaw doll. What's his name? Billy
the Puppet.
Yeah, I don't think.
But it's his voice on the puppet, and I think it's, for me, they're one and the same.
Fair enough.
And you know, if like, say for example, have you seen some of the promotional material for this franchise? Are we done flashbacks? I don't want to drag Laura.
Yeah, sorry, Laura. You can go. Thanks.
Continuing, the Saw X promotional were promotional. Me and my grammar. They had like minute to 30-second to 2-minute like ads where they would have the puppet on the tricycle to go into like an AMC theater.
Oh yeah, I did see some of those.
And
yeah.
like, and you actually almost ripping off a famous Nicole Kidman AMC ad, and it was really good marketing. Like playing on with the doll and the voice. Like, how often do you get to see that doll in action? And like, dude, we spent so much money on this doll. We're paying so much money to get it mobile. Let's use it, and they did so. AMC flagged them for like copyright or whatever, and forced them to take it down. And I think we got another ad. Either way, it was very creative, and the puppet is really good. And I like that little shot. And I loved how it was used. It's like opens the doors and cycles in with, you know, and you see it literally moving as an animatronic would, bringing the utensils and the surgical tools on a tray at the back of a bike. And then later you cut to the junkie who's sitting there afraid of her life.
Yeah, she doesn't want to touch it. Yeah.
And then she's looking over and you just see the doll's just sitting there as if it's, you know, Annabelle or, you know, a Goosebumps puppet moving on its own, but it's not.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think that they're trying to, just with your comparison to Annabelle, I think they are trying to emphasize that on the puppet, because that's kind of where I suppose kind of horror can go with the puppets, and having Annabelle and Chucky and Billy, and I'm sure.
Except I will lose all respect of the Saw franchise if they go into the supernatural.
Oh, they wouldn't. No, it that's not where it lives. There's no need for it to be.
Never. Where it does live is the torture.
Yeah, and I think that is a great segue, Brian, into the actual traps of the film.
Oh, thanks. It feels like I did it on purpose.
So I think, I hope I'm not alone in this. I know that you're probably not like this at all, but I think viewers at home, a good game that is played with Saw is, would I survive that? And I think I'm a fair judge of, would I survive that, or could I do it, or would I just let myself die?
I might have thought that when I was a youngster, because, you know, we were teenagers watching this. I
can't help it. I fully, like, every single time I'm like, yes, I could do that. And the traps in this movie, that's a lot. That's, I think, another thing that we didn't even mention with the writing of it. Like, how do you write like a torture trap and not be like pulled up by your boss being like, you okay, man? Like, I'm fine. I just need to come up with a way that would severely mangle someone, or, you know, it's like it's a fucked up thing to have to think about and come up with yourself without, like, you know, going into the place of Jigsaw. So we talk about some of the traps that are in this film, and I know you didn't play this during the film, but just think about it, and would you have survived it? So the first one, it was the kid who was the pickpocket. Break all your fingers or lose your eyes.
Even though that wasn't real.
No, it was a, you know,
dream.
It was fantasy.
He was taking ahead. If he doesn't put that back, this is what I'm going to do to him.
Yeah,
and he made a good choice. And it's good that, just before we get to the, you know, traps, I like that they, as, you know, storytellers, the director and such, went as far as to show us, yes, this is still the man who is capable of these things, these monstrosity acts, but to make him the protagonist, make it like a dream sequence. And he says, good choice.
Yeah, he even does have that moment a little bit later on when he thinks he's cured and he's writing his notebook and he rips it out and puts it in the bin.
I love that bit. Like, I forgot about that.
He's
I
going
love
to
it.
change.
Yes, like he felt like he saw the goodness in people, and
because it's still technically very early in his career.
Yeah.
No, actually, no. I forgot. Kind of when he's in the first movie, he is the Jigsaw killer already.
Yeah. But I do like that bit. I like the parts that they tried to elevate the story and not make it. But continue, David.
So the first trap, you got to break all your fingers or lose your eyes.
Yeah, I'll pass it.
Yeah, that's an easy pass. I think that the suspense that they have to use in these movies, that kind of breaks the illusion for me in terms of, like, okay, but just do it.
Yeah,
like, a lot of the time, like,
yeah, but he's imagining this. You know, you must have a fetish for the suspense and drawing it out.
Maybe, yeah, like in a lot of
that's me. Like, that's me thinking in my rational view. This is a fucked up individual, and And
Yeah.
I'm not going to think any beyond it because I'm watching this as a fan.
There is I think some traps in other movies where it's like, okay, do this thing, and they've got two things to do. It's just, like there's one where someone has to like poke out their eyes, and he has to press buttons on two sides, and he like puts one in and stabs himself in the eye, and he doesn't do the other one until it's too late.
I don't want
and
to
I'm like, just do both.
I'm sorry, I don't want to draw these things out, but I really hate these.
Sorry.
I'm not a fan of the traps. I don't watch the Saw movies for the gore, the torture. I don't like it. I don't go seeking it. I seek a good story with a couple of twists and you know. And my favorite Saw movies are the ones where there's a group of people together and they keep killing each other because they don't know how to work together. Those are the Saw. So. I don't want to drag this out any longer. I'm almost like uncomfortable talking about it.
Okay, we don't have to do anything.
No, like let's speed it on. I don't want to draw it anymore. So the next one, no, I wouldn't survive it.
No,
the leg.
Though with the leg, no, I couldn't do it
I-
either.
no.
No, that was too much. I think her actually like the physical having to do it. That couldn't do that.
I liked how you phrase it. The self-involvedness.
Yeah, exactly.
The next one with the brain.
The brain.
No.
No, I don't think I could either. No, I think it's the level of self-involvedness that you need to do. The third one then is the two arms.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I actually could have done it better. I would have done the hand first and I'd just fall.
Yeah, there was no need for her to hit her own leg first, and your one's like, you'll swing across. I was like, okay, but like if I hit my hand and I fall down, at least I'm on the ground then.
Yeah.
I feel like I have a bit more control over the ground than I do swinging in the air by my hand.
So yeah.
And then
and she did. She survived.
She did survive, and then was killed by the doctor again to emphasize how bad she was.
And I loved John's and Amanda's reactions to it. Like Amanda, I really loved in this movie.
Amanda, yeah, she actually was really kind of, she was elevated. I think in that conflict in her.
I still got a sense and feel that she got a bit of a kick out of it. Out of the kidnapping, the drug, and the tie up. I felt like she got a kick out of it, but to at least to the bad people.
I think that she is a character who. She's a victim of addiction.
Yes.
Whether that addiction be drugs or John.
Yeah.
Like she needs an outlet for that.
Yeah, she's being brainwashed. She's being taken advantage of. She's being manipulated.
Yeah.
She's an easy target.
If John had just been like, say, a counsellor, and her life had been changed by John's words, she would have then become a counsellor. You know, just to be following John's footsteps. So just because John is the jigsaw killer, that's what she feels like she is. You know, the next sort of step. So it was good to see that kind of hesitancy from her. You know, and you do get that little bit of a good side where she tells your one like shut up and because you were next.
Yeah.
So, and then the final one was the waterboarding.
Sure.
Yeah, I think so too. Although, yeah, that was the waterboarding, and then the final one was the gas in the room.
Yeah, I suppose I have to kill someone to.
Yeah, that's the worst traps I think in any of the series are the ones where it's not just yourself, you're relying on someone else.
Or that someone has to die.
Or someone else has to make a decision.
Like sometimes there are traps where people have to die in order for you to survive.
Yeah.
So those are kind of.
So then how does he justify that he's not a murderer when he puts someone in a situation where one of you has to die?
Because that other someone still has a chance to survive.
Yeah, no, I don't. I think he's a very flawed in his logic there. Because he's like, I give them the chance to survive. Well, you gave two people one chance to survive. So you're forcing them to be murderers? I don't know. I think his logic is flawed.
To that, Dave, I would argue to go back to what I previously stated. This is a fucked up individual, and I'm perceiving this as a rational, sane person thinking, shoot this man in the head faster than you did to Bin Laden.
Yeah.
Because this, On the other hand, I'm watching it as a movie fan.
Yeah.
And that's how I keep, switching between the two. And, it's essentially, at the end of the day, it's a B movie. And the little clever storytelling bits are just good to have.
Yeah.
Because if they don't have it, well then,
you wouldn't watch it. Yeah. You're not into it.
I won't watch it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we see anything coming from this after? Like,
I think they might do another Saw movie continuing after that post-credit scene with that character and where he was last left off in the franchise.
With Hoffman?
Yes.
Yes, because they did leave that on a cliffhanger that hasn't been resolved since
Saw
2010.
6.
Yeah, so 20...
2010.
10,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because like that was supposed to be the conclusion of the franchise, you know. He was supposed to be the villain of the franchise as opposed to John Kramer, because he
took it over, yeah.
He was purposely killing people.
Yeah.
He had no moral code. And I'm not going to get into it, but he was a pretty good character. And
I liked
Hoffman, I like, well, especially when he survived the bear trap in Saw 6 by ripping his jaw out. Like, I like that he survived that. The villain of this now franchise survived that, and then, you know, continues to be the villain until he's locked up. They might continue that.
I would like to see I'd like to see this continue in some way. Obviously, you said their Spiral isn't going to see. We're not going to see that continuance.
No. But I think if they want to do another one, they might continue it where Hoffman is there, and I don't know, maybe he'll escape, or maybe something else will be involved.
Maybe they'll converge, and we'll get the Spiral and him. And
I would rather Jigsaw connect to the main leading franchise as opposed to Spiral. Spiral felt like something that Chris Rock wanted to make his own, and
he wanted to get in on it.
Yeah, and fair enough. Yeah, give it a go. Just didn't turn out well, but yeah, I'm not looking for it though. I'm happy. Just like I wasn't looking for a new Saw movie after Jigsaw, after Spiral, and
they're nice little pluses.
Yeah,
it's not something you're highly anticipating.
And Saw X was good.
Yeah.
That's
I think what we're coming away from here.
Yeah.
Is that I think I was a bit critical of it, but like I did still enjoy it.
Yeah. I think it's probably my second favorite or favorite. That's how good I think it is. And one last thing, David, I would not recommend it to anyone.
I wouldn't recommend this franchise to anyone if they didn't already watch it.
Yeah, to be a fan of the Saw franchise, to start watching them, you have to discover them on your own. You have to be interested on your own to go watch them. I would not recommend the Saw franchise to any single person whatsoever because of the nature of what it is. It's not for everyone, and I don't want to imprint that on anyone.
Yeah.
If I come across someone like you who knows the franchise, who have already watched it, great. Let's share that bond together. But
you're not bringing
I'm not going to have Richie start watching the Saw franchise and, hey Richie, you like this, you know? I'm not going to do that because you have to watch it on your own, and that's it. I would not recommend a franchise to anyone.
Absolutely.
And, yeah.
You got a quick recommendation here just before we wrap up?
Do I have a quick recommendation to wrap up? Gen V.
Oh, I was going to recommend Gen V.
Oh man, you can recommend Gen V too.
Well, let's both do Gen V. I genuinely was going to do Gen V.
So I watched the first episode.
What do you think?
I love it.
Yeah, it's good. It's Gen V, for listeners at home, it's a spin-off of The Boys.
Yeah.
It takes place in The Boys universe. It's a
bunch of superhero youths in college, more hornier and violent than ever.
Yeah, and like if you like The Boys, you're gonna like this.
Yeah,
it's simple. You know, it's when I'm watching it with Laura, she's actively like, oh, can we watch the next episode of this? Can we? You know, it's different than if I'm sitting down and I'm like, oh, do you want to watch an episode of Moon Knight? Do you want to watch Loki?
Yeah,
but she is. Yeah. Do you want to watch? Like, she's saying it to me, so it's I highly recommend it. If you haven't seen The Boys either, you know that's a great time to watch as well.
Watch. How many episodes have you watched so far?
2. We were in the middle of watching 3 before we started recording.
I'm so sorry.
You're fine, don't worry.
I've watched the first episode. Already when Yoan went to go vomit, because that's how she accesses her powers. She's my favourite character. Purely because she has to go through that every time she has to use it. It's like a disability or a negative effect on her using it, you know?
Yeah.
So
it's complex. It's not just simple as I have superpower. It's okay, well.
And by doing that with no dialogue is always better. Hence, like, okay, great. They put a lot of thought in her. Thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Talking Pictures Podcast. Everyone listening at home, you've followed us before on listening to our weekly episodes. You know the drill. TalkingPicturesPodcast1@gmail.com. Send us in your requests. We are on Instagram at TalkingPicturesPod1. And we are on Spotify all the time. We're always promoting that on our Instagram. So please, listen again every week. We will be here every Wednesday, the morning you wake up, to the end of time. David, thanks.
If we're in a rush, it's because we're off to see next week's episode, which will be on The Creator.
Quick, David, have it. Let's go.
Sorry. Go. Thanks, Brian.
Save it.